All right, we are recording.
All right, so that means we can go ahead and call the meeting to order. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Okay, I didn't know if
I can. I shouldn't speak for the whole group.
I can.
Yep.
Perfect. So then the first item up is the approval of the minutes from the February 16th meeting.
Were they attached?
Yeah, they were in the meeting packet. I can bring that up. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, because I clicked on the link and I didn't do the packet. I just did the.
Yeah, I see them there on like the second page.
Did you click on the link in my email, Kathy, or through the website?
Through the city website.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that I attached them because I don't think I did that last time.
Let's me.
Anybody have any questions or can entertain a motion?
I make a motion to accept them.
All right, motion made. And does anybody want a second?
A second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I guess we could have had discussion. I don't think we need it. Anybody want to discuss? Anybody want to oppose? All right, carries. So we are good there. Moving forward into updates. I guess I can start. I'm just kind of trying to see what I said last month. I don't have a lot. I mean, other than it's things are starting to improve. I think last month I said slight increase in weekend business, and that's kind of still the case. We're getting some interest in small meetings back. Our restaurant at the Courtyard is going to be reopening soon. We're not quite there yet, but eventually we'll have breakfast operations going there again. What else? Overall, I mean, our extended stay still is doing the best residents in. We've been doing decent there throughout the pandemic, and now the others are kind of starting to creep up now. So anything to add to that, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, we've got an airline crew that's staying with us, and they're doubling their number of room nights for next month in April. So that's a good sign, I think, that there's even more flights coming into to Madison, perhaps, and obviously us picking up some more room nights from that. We're not really seeing any movement in the individual reservations, transient guests, leisure guests at our property. Our rates are still hanging much higher than Corey's properties are across the street, and we can't really compete with you on that. So in terms of our individual reservations go, nothing's moving, but we are seeing quite the pickup in terms of incoming calls and inquiries for both social events, and then there's been a couple of dance groups that have been displaced out of Chicago that we picked up. So we do have some increased business levels over the next few months.
And Julie, did you have stuff to add too?
Yeah, we started getting the STAR report. That's an acronym, and I quite honestly, I don't know what it stands for because I've always referred to it as the STAR report, but it's a group that does analysis on lodging. So I'm now tracking how we're doing in terms of occupancy, average daily rates, RevPAR, and a couple of other data points that are specific to Middleton. And I just got the report for February. It was a little more encouraging. We're at 23, let's just round it up and say 24% occupancy for the month of February. In January, if we round it up, we were at 19%. So year to date, we're sitting at 21% occupancy. However, compared to last year at this time, we're almost 60% below where we were in 2020. But I think the good news is the occupancy rate is starting to move in the right direction. I think it's going to be slow for the next couple of months. I've been doing a lot of research today because I was invited to participate in a panel that the Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring on Thursday regarding how we're supporting local businesses. And the panel is going to consist of Mike Davis, our city administrator, Kate Miller from the chamber, myself, and Andrea Van Nest representing DMBA. So most of what I've been reading about today has been the vaccine and the impact of the vaccine on people's willingness to travel and when they're forecasting that they're going to start traveling. It's pretty much holding true to what we were told at the beginning of the year, that Q2 would be the quarter where these vaccines would get, folks were going to be getting the shots in the arms, and they would start moving about June, July, August. So we're on pace as a country with what the trends have been forecasting to be. So that's encouraging. I mean, we're seeing some events starting to submit special event permit applications. I think the first one was for July, Laura, if that's just not, if that's correct.
June,
Somewhere.
actually,
June?
end of June. Mhm.
Couple in July, couple in August. So we're moving in the right direction. I feel like recovery is really literally just around the corner.
One thing I was going to throw in there too that I forgot to mention, I've been keeping track of just events in the greater area, and I did receive word that the Great Taste of Midwest, which is like the first or second week of August, is going to proceed. So that's the earliest event that I've heard of so far, other than the golf tournament in June. I think that's going to happen with or without fans though, so that one doesn't really count. But you know, in terms of like an attended event, at least the way the hotels look, it looks like, I know we've been saying this for a long time, but it looks like in August is when it's going to finally start to pick up, because downtown right now is insane for us over all the football games. Like, we're sold out over all of them and weren't really prepared for that. I think people are just preparing for the fall.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. I just read a blurb in the Destination Madison newsletter that Bratfest is canceling, but they're encouraging individual businesses to have their own Bratfest and then kind of pull it all together under the Bratfest umbrella. So I'm curious to see if anybody in Middleton is going to participate in that. We'll start asking some folks and see if anything's shaken with that in our community. But I thought that was kind of a cool way to keep that alive.
Maybe tourism can. I could see you and
There
Laura.
you go. We can co-op with the Mustard Museum.
Right. It'd be a perfect match.
Yeah. And as long as we're on reports, Corey, I think Kathy wanted to give us some updates on a couple of actions that the Common Council has taken recently.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you just wanted me to talk a little bit about that they're waiving the sidewalk cafe permits.
Right.
And with that, you're allowed to extend into the parking spots on the street in front of that. What else? In the Stone Horse Green and the, well, they're calling it the City Hall Commons, that green space next to City Hall. Same thing as last year. They can serve alcohol and have tables there. So that's pretty much it. Hey, Julie, I have a question on this panel that you're doing on Thursday.
Yes.
Is this for the group to get an idea of how the stimulus money that Middleton will be receiving should be spent, or what is that?
No, this is mostly, Mike's going to be talking about some of the initiatives that the city implemented to assist businesses. So that what is the fund that we started? The
Mural.
Yes.
Oh, is this from
Mural.
the chamber, did you say?
Yeah, and
Okay.
this is in response to a survey that they had put out.
Okay.
Some businesses had indicated they were interested in knowing what tourism was doing, what the city was doing, what the chamber was doing, what DMBA was doing
Mhm.
to continue to support
What
businesses.
businesses? Okay, gotcha.
And, what did we have in the pipeline for spring and summer?
Okay, so it's a
So
chamber. it's
I'll
moving Middleton.
primarily be talking about recovery trends and then moving into initiatives and campaigns that we're going to be working on individually and then what we're collaborating on with the other folks.
Okay, thank you.
It's at 9 o'clock if anyone is interested, and you can register. It is a virtual meeting, of course, and it's you can register through the chamber. Scheduled to run for an hour. That's all I have, Corey.
All right, we can move forward. We have no grants, so we could move into our updates. I guess I'll hand it off to Brandon with a curling update.
Yeah, thanks, Corey. Let me pull up my video here. How's everyone doing?
Good. How about you?
Good. My video is slow, so I'll see if I pop up or not. But yeah, so I just wanted to come back and give you guys an update on the curling bid. If you remember back, I think it was January, I came and presented you all with the men's and women's national championship that we're currently bidding on to host next March. Briefly after that event was approved by the committee here, USA Curling had asked what we thought about hosting just the men's tournament. So some background, they're getting some pressure from their board and leadership to split men's and women's events. So it looks like they're looking into doing that. When that conversation started, that would obviously split the field in half for us, which greatly impacts the number of teams and spectators and such. So we had kind of acknowledged that we'd have to go back to the committee and see what they had to say, just because it was such a big impact to the grant amount that was approved. Since that time, they've worked with us to actually go and pivot to a completely different event, which is the mixed doubles, which I'm actually much more excited about. I think it's a better fit overall. They would expand the field from 12 teams that it's traditionally 12 teams to 24. So it would mimic more of the numbers that we were working on for men's and women's. The staff rooms would stay the same as they would been with men's and women's. Same dates. One thing to consider about this as well is it's more likely that we'd have the Hamilton brother and sister combination. So from a PR and local interest standpoint, I think it's a much more interesting event. They do more draws per day as well. So still wanted to, I don't know, Julia, was that Excel spreadsheet included in the packet for everyone? That kind of did the comparison between the events?
Yes.
It was.
can
I
you
can
bring that
share it. Yeah, I'll bring it up here.
Thanks,
Brandon.
Laura.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Yeah, so if you look at that top one there, men's and women's nationals in yellow, that was the initial one. And this just breaks down kind of easy what we'd be looking at. The green one is the one we'd be moving to. So much the same, more draws per day, which is actually to give you some background, the men's and women's typically does what's called 10 end games. So think of them like as a baseball innings. There's 10 innings, so they're longer events in general, whereas the mixed doubles are 8, so they're a little bit quicker, more fast paced as well. So it'd be more action as well. But yeah, you can see there's similar number of athletes and coaches. This does not include spectator rooms or anything like that. When you see the headquarter hotel room nights, those are projected staff rooms. So they'd stay pretty stagnant around that 200 room nights, and then whatever we get from spectators and teams and fans and that sort of things are separate. So wanted to bring that back to the committee just because there are changes and get your thoughts and see if there's any questions or if people have any concerns of keeping those funding levels where they were approved for at previously.
I mean, I guess from my perspective, I don't really know that we need to make a change, because it's within like what, 20, between 20 and 40 room nights, which could potentially be more or less, I'm assuming. I don't know, does anybody have any feedback?
I agree with you, Corey.
We don't need to, do we need to have action item on this, Julie? Since it
No,
was already,
I think if you're going to, unless you would be changing the grant, this really is more informational.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we'd probably have maybe a different conversation if they were going to cut the field in half, but even at that point, you know, I think it's just nice to have them considering us. So I
Yeah,
don't
and
feel
then-
like we need to make any changes unless anyone else feels differently.
I do have one quick question. Is this after the 2020 Olympics?
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
it's directly. So I believe the Winter Olympics finish up like in not late February, but like in like February 22nd, I want to say. I can't remember where curling fits in the schedule for that, but yeah, it will be coming off the heels of the Winter Olympics too. So I think that there'll be lots of interest and like I said, if we can capture having the Hamilton here competing, I think that's gonna be a good draw from a media value. It's also smack dab in between. State hockey is actually the weekend before, and then there's a gap where this event would be, and then WIA state basketball. So it could work out really well as far as having all eyes and attention on the curling national championships in Middleton. Everything I've heard from curling is they're ready to award it to us. It's basically ours. Nobody else is they're looking at. So we just want to make sure that our local club stays whole and feels good about where their numbers come in at.
Were there any concerns and on behalf of Capital Ice?
With Andrew,
Yeah,
he just noted that with the additional draws per day, if you see there, we were looking at an event that was 17 to 18 draws, moving to 24 to 28. So it'd be more manpower for them. But there's also the increased, that's kind of offset by the increased interest, I think, in ticket sales and food and beverage revenue that would come with that
sure.
as well. So he kind of saw it as offsetting, but having more expenses, but possibly more revenue opportunities. So it was kind of a wash, but he felt like the funding levels that were approved for previously are still absolutely needed to feel good about hosting it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? All right, looks like we're good to go. Thanks for the update, Brandon.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Yep,
Thank you,
too.
Brandon. Take care.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.
And we're gonna set a record here for one of our fastest meetings ever. Unless Julie's gonna take a long
I'm going
time.
into the 2-minute drill, sir. Can you bring up the year-end report, Laura, please?
Yes. Let's see.
So scrolling through this just quickly, if you want to head back in the other direction.
Want me to start here?
Does it say room tax?
Yes.
So I highlighted the areas where we were able to recognize pretty substantial savings. Some of it was through management of expenses, and some of it was just because we didn't incur any expenses in those particular lines. But at the end of the day, if you look at the grant section, the grant that we received from the Wisconsin Department of Tourism, the Travelers Stimulus Grant, and the small grant that we received from the Steve Stricker American Family Fund that was awarded through Destinations Wisconsin really contributed to our revenue. I mean, without those two grants, we would have been in a pretty grim situation. So I'm hoping that with this care package that is coming out to states and counties, the state's getting a sizable sum of money. I wrote it down somewhere, and of course I can't find it. And the county was also getting a substantial amount of money, as is the city, that out of those three resources, we can find some additional revenue coming in 2021 as well. We did get a little bit of money from the credit card rebate program, so we're trying to use our city credit card, city purchasing card, as often as possible, just to pick up some additional revenue from there. Moving down to the tourism grants, again, cut back on that, cut back on MASC, trade show grants. Corey was able to give us back some money in 2020 because events either canceled or went virtual. And we pulled way back on destination partnerships. So pretty substantial savings in those categories. Probably the most significant effort on behalf of the tourism staff is the advertising budget. And a large portion of the credit for that goes to Mari and the untiring efforts that she has put into our newsletters and our social media campaigns, the pivoting that she was able to do, and actually taking work in-house that we had anticipated taking in-house in 2021. We really wanted to try to get through the branding process before she got too involved in the execution pieces for newsletter and social media, but because of the circumstances, we just expedited that. So Mari, I just want to say thank you for all of your efforts in 2020. We really appreciate everything that you did in that advertising line. And Laura contributed her time and her talents to that effort as well, jumped in, knowing that some of her work was going to be dormant for a while, just jumped in and helped Mari out wherever it was needed. So thank you, Laura, for everything that you did to help us achieve what we were able to in 2020. Moving on to the next section, the promotions, we cut way back on there because essentially we were talking to local folks. What we historically do is purchase giveaway items that we can be using for groups, and obviously there was no need for that. The other expenses, that $50,000 actually went into a new category for brand refresh, so that will appear in another section of the report. Destination Madison really took a hit from us last year. And they're also going to be, I'm afraid, facing that same situation, as well as looking at another reduction in what they're going to be getting from the city of Madison. Excuse me. So they're really tightening their belts, and we're talking more and more about regional collaborations and how we can continue to work together on campaigns and initiatives that include ourselves, Madison, Fitchburg, Verona, Sun Prairie, Cottage Grove, and Monona. have also expressed an interest in working with us. So more to follow on that as we move through the spring and the summer months. Building maintenance projects down at the bottom of that page. The windows got pushed off into 2021. So this basically represents the, oh no, I'm sorry, the window expense was incurred in 2020. The actual I&D work was pushed into 2021. So this is the remediation work that we did on the flooring and the purchase of the windows for the back half of the building. Moving on to the next section. Training, we were able to realize some savings there. Research, I just pulled back on everything that I wanted to do last year as far as purchasing, research, and getting involved with organizations that are doing research. Those are starting to come back online slowly but surely in 2021. And that brand refresh line is the 50,000 that was on the other page. You'll note that we were able to save 20,000 on our efforts last year with Belter and Lincoln. So that was very much appreciated. Public relations stepped way back. And of course, the biggest thing was letting the trolley just remain dormant for the whole season. So at the end of the day, we're really looking at $127,970 and some change that we're going to have to take from the tourism reserve. But I think that's a much better picture than what we were looking at in July of last year, when we were anticipating about 363,000 and some change coming out of that fund. And I'm going to stop right there, Laura, and see if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns on 2020.
I was just going to say that that number is pretty remarkable. I don't even remember what we talked about, like what we thought we were going to need out of that fund balance last summer, but I'm guessing it was probably somewhere near like $500,000, you know, from what, if I remember correctly. So that's an awesome job by all you. It's pretty mind blowing that that number is, you know, it's a lot of money, but it's a lot lower than what it could have been.
Right.
Yeah. You guys did a really good job managing the money and the funds that we had available or didn't have available.
Yeah, as the case may be.
Right.
Thank you. If you all don't have anything else, that's all I have, Corey.
You guys should go out and have lunch or something, at least show them that. Would Mike approve that?
Would you approve it?
Is it up to us? I thought it was up to Mike. Yes, it's approved.
Well, when it's safe for everybody to gather again, we will have a libation at Capitol Brewery and go over and have a snack at the Hubbard Avenue Diner. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
We should just bring some stuff and go to the grassy area and we can all stand 10 feet apart. Yell
There
at
you
each
go. There you go.
Gosh, yeah, I think that's all we got. Moving on, items for next meeting. Anybody have anything?
I think we will have a branding update.
Okay.
So I'm going to put that on here. I have not heard back on our PPP loan application, so I will add that on here just as an update.
Remind me too, is next month our last month of our cycle, or was that this month? I can never remember in terms of our term or whatever.
You get con-
Kathy, was there anything in LNO that defined that?
Yes. Yes, there was. I think, no, not next month, at least till May, and
May,
I can
okay.
look them. Yeah.
And I believe the ordinance for tourism said May 1st.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I mean, in actuality, we've had situations in the past where committees and commissions and boards had not been approved by those dates, and the city attorney has told us you can just keep functioning until there's a change.
Well, that was one thing we wanted to do, was make sure that we get in a timely manner that the new board members were installed.
Right.
Have you all reapplied and heard anything back yet, or?
I haven't heard anything back.
Haven't heard anything either.
I don't know if it was a good sign or they're just busy.
I believe that the
Susan and I
mayor
are
had
getting the
March, I believe the mayor had March 31st as the deadline for applications, so I'm sure he's waiting until he hits that date, and then if his process holds true to form, he'll be doing interviews then in the month of April.
I mean, you may not even know, Julie, has there been any interest? I know last year we really didn't have any interest, so is there anything that you've heard about or not
In our
really?
commission,
Yeah,
I haven't been contacted by anybody, and I haven't had Gurdeep reach out to me inquiring about anybody. So the answer is no at this point.
okay.
Okay.
But I thank all of you for your willingness to commit to another year. That's greatly appreciated. And I think the continuity will be helpful for us as we start going through this branding execution and start thinking about strategic planning for the next 3 years.
For sure.
Now, I'm making an assumption that everyone will be reappointed, and I probably shouldn't be doing that, but I'm thanking you anyway for your interest.
How I'm reading this is on the third Tuesday of May, the council will confirm the members of the committees, and then in first meeting in June is when we'll be installed and have install new officer too.
So that was June last year then, I guess.
I don't know if it was June last year,
Maybe
but
it was
that's
later.
what
I felt like it
we're-
was later.
we're trying to clean it up so it's the same in as much
Yeah.
as we can.
I know
Okay.
it went into May 1 year and it went into June 1 year. But
Maybe-
I feel like last year was, it was pretty smooth, at least for tourism. There were other committees, commissions that had some discussion, but yeah, yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of discussion on the appointments that he wanted to make to this group.
Perfect.
So if you'd like, I can put this on here as an update, Corey, and if I have anything that I can share, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, it
Okay.
wasn't a big deal. It was more curiosity than anything.
Yeah, no,
I just didn't know if we would have to discuss anything, but we won't, obviously.
okay. How about if we do this? I will include something in my director's report if there's anything.
Yeah, that works.
Does that work for everybody? Okay,
And I guess if we don't have anything else, then I'll just entertain a motion to adjourn. Nobody? Okay, Susan
I see
is
a hand.
motioning. Is anybody gonna second that?
Everyone just wants to hang on the phone.
I
So
guess.
Jose raised his hand.
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry, I missed that.
You gotta be quick.
Cool. Well, record timing. Everyone have a good night, and we'll see you in a month or so.
All right, sounds great.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Take
Thank you.
care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.